Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The Messages of Inspiration and Hope is proudly brought to you today by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com. I'm going to be joined today by Donna Guinois. Donna's having a little technical issue. She's in the background working on everything. So when she pops in, you'll know that she's here. So we're looking forward to having her on the show with us today. Charlene is working. She's training right now. And so me and Donna are going to be interviewing Dr. Andrew Ackerman. If you missed the first part of the show, this was a week ago yesterday when he was on this show. And we wanted to bring him back for part two because there's a lot of great information that he has to share about his life, his journey, everything that, you're going to find amazing. He's a quadriplegic. It's kind of a hard word for me to say. He's been confined to a wheelchair since a few weeks before he was 16, I think is when the accident happened to him. But he graduated from medical school. What a tremendous story of messages of inspiration and hope. And we're so thrilled to have him here. And Donna's still working on her thing. So when you see Donna pop up, you'll know why she's there, because they're having technical issues out there with the internet where she lives in Phoenix. So that's what the issue is. But we'll be right back right after this brief message from one of our great sponsors, the 6-Minute Webinar. And I'm going to do the introduction to Charlene, let her know we're thinking of her. We'll be right back.
Hi, and welcome to the Messages of Inspiration and Hope show that's proudly sponsored by the 6-Minute Webinar. Today we have some exciting and very interesting guests, real people just like you and me. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the show. Now here's Jim.
And Charlene will be back with us next week. Like I say, she works for an airline. She's a trainer for them. And so she wears many, many, many hats. She's a wonderful lady, a great host. And I'm just privileged and blessed to be associated with these lovely ladies who helped me put on the show. And I'm so grateful because they contribute a lot behind the scenes. But today we got Dr. Andrew Ackerman, and let me just invite him to the show if I may. And here he is. Hey, Dr. Ackerman, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
Doing good. You look good. You sound good. And oh my goodness gracious.
Thank you for having me here.
Oh, our pleasure. Thank you, because your story of inspiration and hope will touch home to a lot of people. And you're the second gentleman we've had on the show. That first gentleman was Barry Shore. Barry laid down to take a nap in the afternoon. He got up one day, he's feeling fine. He laid down to take a nap. He got back up in the afternoon, and he started to walk and fell flat of his face. He couldn't figure out what was going on. And he had his son help him to the couch. And long story short, let me adjust my camera there a little bit, get a little bit more of the skyline there. But he couldn't figure out what was going on. So he had his son go next door or a couple of doors down to where the doctor lived. And he says, you need to take him to the hospital right now. He was in ICU. He didn't know if he's going to make it. I don't remember the name of the disease, but he said it was similar to French polio that he had. And he was, he's a quadriplegic.
It's probably Guillain-Barré, maybe?
It could be. It could be. I don't know.
That sounds French.
Yeah.
That is up by, I am a neuroradiologist, so.
Mm-hmm. You may be up on that, and I'm not.
It sounds like Guillain-Barré. Mm-hmm. It's a viral disease that goes up.
Yeah, that's what he had. Yeah, that's what he had. And
it's ascending. It goes up from your legs up.
Yeah.
And you wake up, and it could literally happen overnight. Yeah, you wake up and you fall out of bed.
Yeah, and he had to have floaties on all of his arms and legs when he was in the pool, and he kept working at it and all that. And to date, he has swam over 7,000 miles.
Good for God bless him.
Yes, and to have a gentleman of that caliber on here and a gentleman of your caliber on here, I mean, that's a 1-2 punch when it comes to messages of inspiration and hope, especially for us able-bodied people who are sometimes we're a little bit lazy to get off the couch. Let's be honest, guys. And I bet I can hear some ladies out there saying amen to that. But Dr. Andrew, I want you to share a story that we just got into briefly last time. If I remember, and please correct me if I make a mistake or an error, but you were about a few weeks from being 16 years of age. You dove into the ocean.
Exactly a week before.
A week before, okay. And your head hit something you believe was wood stuck in the sea floor or whatever. But anyway, immediately it snapped your neck, and you were just, you couldn't hardly move. And tell about the
No,
trauma.
it's well.
Go ahead.
Let
Go
me.
ahead. Go ahead from there.
Yeah, it's a little more dramatic. Actually, what happens in those kind of situations is the entire spinal cord goes into shock. So even though I ended up being a lower level, and I'm able to move my arms, thankfully. I still can't move my fingers and stuff like that. That's why the word quadriplegic for limbs. Although the new term is tetraplegic, in case anybody is interested. So I'm lying there, and when you have spinal shock, I don't know what that background noise is, but when you're in spinal shock,
that's on Donna's mic. She'll work on that. She's getting there. Look at her smile.
Hi, Donna. Nice meeting you.
Hi, Andrew.
So let me where was I? Oh yeah. So I'm lying there with my, face down in the water, but because I was in spinal shock, I couldn't move my arms or legs. So I couldn't even turn over. So I'm facing, and I'm going, I'm in the water. So my first fear was drowning.
Yes.
Because I couldn't even turn over. 30 seconds, 60 seconds. What saved me, I think, I'm pretty sure, is that I was a pretty good swimmer and diver before that. So, and a lifeguard. So I think my lungs were expanded enough, because I think I was under for about 90 seconds. And all my friends that were around, they were, you know how it is. People think you're kidding around. So they don't, And so here I am, and my life is flashing in front of my eyes. I'm only not even 16. I'm thinking, geez, really, this is the way it's going to end? I didn't even get a chance to do anything. And as I'm thinking that, and it was very important, and that's a lesson I want to share also with people, is that if you find yourself, God forbid, in a situation like that, the most important thing is to remain calm.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because if I panicked, I would have lost whatever air I had. I would have started drowning, water in the lungs, pneumonia. That's the least, Anyway, you get the point.
Yeah.
So I did everything I could. I said to myself, just stay calm, conserve your oxygen. Someone will come and grab you. And this is where the story gets interesting. Out of nowhere, this gentleman comes over, and you could argue that I was in shock, so who knows what I remember, but it's more interesting than that. I remember, granted it was 30 years ago, but I remember that at the time he was wearing black swim trunks. He was a white gentleman with dark brown hair, and I think he had a mustache. But that's the most I could tell you about the gentleman, because I was more in my own head thinking, oh my God, what is going on? So the first thing, he just turned me over and he asked me, are you okay? And immediately I knew something, just from experience, from being a lifeguard, from swimming. I knew something. I've done crazy things before. That's a whole other show about young teenage boys doing stupid things.
Yeah, we'll call that show Young and Dumb.
Young and Dumb, right? No, well, actually, who was it? I think it was Mark Twain who said, "Youth is wasted on the young."
Yeah, yeah.
It's a good point.
It gets wasted on young at heart, right, Donna?
Well, that's
Absolutely.
the thing.
When we're teenagers, we all do stupid things.
Well, we do stupid things. We also think we're immortal and we will live forever.
Oh, we're bulletproof.
We could push things off, and then you find out, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I have so many things on my bucket list. But anyway, let me get back to the story, because I don't want to be all over the place. The gentleman then said nothing else. I just told him I think I broke my neck and I can't move anything. He didn't say anything else. He just dragged me gently, the way he was supposed to, actually, now that I think about it. You don't want to lift the person out of the water because you can cause more damage. So he was just using the water as a buoyancy, and then he got me on the sand, and he kind of disappeared. Now, not like in the movies where he kind of vanished, but as the crowd collected around me, I lost him in the crowd, and I couldn't see him, and I couldn't move my neck. But this is the craziest part of the story. I was there with 7 or 8 friends. Every single one of them has a drastically different description of this gentleman. One said he was black. The other one said he was blonde. The third one said he was Hispanic, beard, clean shaven.
Interesting.
And he's not in the police report. He's not in the paramedic report. So, I'm going to disclose now that I'm not religious in terms of like I grew up in a Jewish home, and that's my culture. I don't it's as far as religion, I'm less interested in the organized part of the religion as much as I am spiritual.
Yeah, understand.
And I am.
Sure.
I mean, I do. Too many things happen in my life, or I've seen other people experience where it's just too much to believe that it's mere coincidence. There is a higher. Plus, it would be really sad if really there isn't anything out there.
That's what I wanted to share with Donna, because Donna, when he dove into the ocean, he hit like a piece of wood that was stuck up like a pier post or something.
Yeah, if you want to tell, if just to clarify, it was a jetty. What they do is they drive these. They look like telephone poles into the sand. It's to prevent erosion. But usually there's a sign. Well, the sign broke off.
Yeah. So anyway, when he hit it with his head, and
normally if I hit the sand, it just goes. It didn't.
Yeah. But where I want to go with this with Donna was that it's amazing. I could understand him being a little bit in shock and maybe seeing the person in a different vision or a light or whatever you want to call it. But for 7 or 8, his friends around him, all giving different physical descriptions of the guy that helped get him out of the water. I mean,
that's really amazing. Yes, it's strange and amazing at the same time.
And I always wonder, and I'm always curious to hear from different people that I come across, like you two. In fact, like what do you think? I know what I think, and I'm willing to share it with you, but I just don't. I'm always curious to hear what other people think that could mean. I wonder, maybe it was one of those situations where there was still something from, like, it was just too early. Like I needed to still do something like that was important. Who knows? I mean, I'd like to. Maybe that's just me.
Well, I think like that
what's
too.
The word?
Yeah, because I got to be honest with you, I feel like that too. Because when you're traveling down the pathway of life, many times it's just like we experience in life. We want something real bad. We want something real bad. And then years later, you look into the rear view mirror of life, and you go like, "Well, I'm sure glad I didn't get that," But at the time, we're so focused on it. And Donna, I tell you, it's really amazing how, how things like that work out, because Bill calls it energy. The universe is a vibration, and all that plays into the part of it.
But I think when we get hyper-focused.
And I'll tell you something else. I mean, I don't want to bore the audience, but maybe in the next show or something, I can show you how I can sort of, in my own theory, I can prove it with physics that there is such a thing as spirituality and why energy. I mean, people are saying this science versus religion. It should never be that way. I think that science should complement religion. Science is very good at explaining the how. It's not very good at explaining the why.
Oh, yeah.
Do you ever
That's
wonder
why it's
about?
called faith. That's why
Right,
it's
exactly.
called faith.
It's a leap. You actually literally have to take a leap.
Yes.
And most scientists are like, well, I'm not gonna. There's a distance. I gotta. No, that's the whole point of faith. If you can't grasp that, you can't even have that conversation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because Donna, also too, when it comes to things like that, we know from experience, and you and I have experienced this personally just by us being hosts together on the radio show, my radio show, your radio show. Let me brag on my radio show a little bit. I got over 6 million downloads there, so I want to brag it on a little bit. And
absolutely, Jim, you're killing it.
And trust me, it was the guests that made that show a hit. It really was, because that's why people tune in.
Well, now you can have 10.
Yeah. And most importantly, it's whenever we travel down the pathway of life, if we get out of the physical and stop focusing on ourselves and we focus on how we can be a blessing to others, that's when fences just seem to fall away and gates open and doors open. Donna, you and I have experienced that, haven't we?
We have. And it's getting also in the right energy alignment that works with you. So, going with somebody who sees things and has the same belief system and the same energy that you have and the same vision in that faith, going forward, versus somebody who says, we're in this together, and then turn around and you're really not in it together, right? You're kind of like, what happened? And when you are misaligned, it won't work. It will not work.
And I agree with that. I just I don't I agree that the spirituality is spirituality. It doesn't matter what religion you are, Judeo-Christian, monotheism. I don't know, Jim, if you know, but my minor was in theology.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was molecular bio and political science were my majors, and I minored in theology. I just kind of wanted to be well-rounded. But getting back to what I was just finishing up the point of that story, I know you wanted me to mention it for a reason, is that it immediately gave me a purpose, which is also very important.
Yes.
I really felt like this was, I mean, a modern day miracle, really. I can't really, why mince words? That's really what it was. Where did this guy come from? Where did he go? I'm hoping by writing this book, I'm sure there's a logical explanation to it also. Like, who knows? I thought maybe he was an illegal alien, or maybe he was a criminal. Who knows? Anything could happen. But it's not so much the event itself, is when it occurs. That's what I've learned from theology. Is that's the miracle, is when you need it, it occurs.
Yes. In your hour of need, it doesn't matter, what your friend saw. The fact was someone enabled you and helped you get out of that water and was there in your hour of need. And that is the most important thing in life. And you've got a shout out from a fan already, Dr. Ackerman.
Thank you.
Marika Rosenbaum-Weiss. She says, great show, Andrew. Yeah. You got a fan there, brother.
Friend. No, thanks.
Yeah,
but in any case, I'm going to shout out thank you. We're Hungarian by originally from the old country. So it's hi, Marika. Anyway, I did want to say some other thing having to do with that. So that automatically gave me a purpose. Prior to that, I wanted to be a doctor, and it was just one of those things. it's in my nature. It's hard to explain to someone who, like, I felt like I've always had that calling. It's I've never faltered. I just never thought if I'm going to be completely honest with myself, and all of this is in my book, so if they miss it, they can catch it. Um, is that I really was an underachiever before my accident. What the injury did is made me much more focused. And I'll tell you when my life changed, because a lot of people think that your life changes at the time of the injury, but not for me. And I just, if you indulge me for a few minutes, I'll share this quick story with you.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Several months after I got injured, it was pretty early on. I still couldn't um, move much. I still had a hard collar on. I lost a bunch of weight. It's a long story, but I was already in rehab at that point, and I wasn't strong enough to get in and out of bed yet. At the time, I'm a lot more independent now.
Right.
But so, and it's like an institution. If you've ever seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, I swear. I mean, it was like that. It's what I've been through. I got to tell you, the fact that I have any sanity left is interesting. But anyway, well, that's debatable, I guess. Depends who you ask. So I'm lying there now. Mind you, they put you in bed at 8 p.m. because of the shift change. So here I am. I'm 16 years old and I'm in bed at 8 p.m. What? I mean, my nephew, who's 9, doesn't has a later bedtime, right? Well, he's not 9 yet. He'll be 9 soon. Sorry, Max. I didn't mean to make you older. Stay a kid as long as you can, right? I can't believe we want to grow up so fast and stay a kid. Anyway, so I'm lying there and I'm looking out the window and I'm thinking, man, and it was really I can remember it as if it was yesterday. It was the only time I've ever felt kind of sorry for myself a little bit. I would say that would be the extent of it. And I'm thinking, my God, I had so many plans and I screwed them up. Like I was just having a bad day. I wanted to go to medical school. I wanted to get married. I wanted to drive a car. I'm going through down the list of all the things that I'm not going to be able to do now. And suddenly, I don't know if you guys have heard of the term shakabuku.
No.
No.
Well, I heard it from actually a movie. I'm not entirely sure. I've looked it up and it is a word, but it was from this movie called Grosse Point Blank that I remember it from. It's defined as a swift spiritual kick to the head that alters your reality forever. So it was. If you've never experienced it, it's hard for you to understand. It's a little bit abstract, but that's kind of what I felt like I had. Suddenly, I had a completely different way of thinking, and I'm like, what's stopping you from doing all this?
There you go.
Nothing.
Right.
And I'm setting my own limitations for myself. Why? So what? Okay, it's going to be harder. Everything is going to be harder. I get it. And I got to start everything just like a baby from the beginning. Got to learn how to transfer. Got to learn how to dress. Got to learn how to brush my teeth. Got to learn how to eat. I mean, I had to do everything from the beginning.
Right.
But after that day, I was the first one in the gym and the last one to leave. And I just didn't let anything stop me. They told me I couldn't drive a car. And I asked, well, why not? They're like, well, you don't have any triceps. You can't transfer. You can drive a van. I'm like, a van? Who wants to drive a van? How am I going to go on dates with a van,
Back in the 70s, you'd be in style, brother. You'd be like the A team, you know.
I know. Well, that would be, yeah. If well, what do they say? If the van's rocking, don't come a knocking.
Yeah.
But having said that, I didn't want to drive a van. I was like, no, I want to drive a car. I had one of the therapists secretly drive his car around, just around, so no one can see. The first time it took me 5 hours
Wow.
to get into the car. I busted my face up. Everything was all bloody. I looked like I went a couple rounds with Tyson and lost. But now it takes like 5 minutes less, and it's not a problem. And I got through med school that way, college, residency, everything. Then I got married. Then I got, everything. And this is, I guess, the teaching point from this is that if you don't set limitations for yourself and you don't consider yourself disabled, no, first of all, no one will treat you disabled. No one, people will treat you the way you treat yourself, the way you perceive yourself, the way I'll tell you, I'll sit down with a bunch of friends. After 5 minutes, they completely forget. It's just,
Yeah.
Call it whatever you want, denial. I'm fine. I'm okay. 30 years of denial. I'll stick with it. That's okay.
Yeah,
Well, I
'cause, you know-
think, I'm sorry, Jim, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Well, I think as it's human, to be honest, for us to set limitations for ourselves. When we're children, we are open and we learn and we have that amazing wonderment and abandonment and everything is awesome. And as we get older and life creeps in and we learn more and then we have responsibilities, we are taught by society, maybe by family members, that there are certain limitations we have and that we end up putting them on ourselves. And what you say is true. We should have no limitations on ourselves.
Yeah.
Even more importantly, is do not let anybody else set the limitations for you.
Right.
If
Right.
anything, you can set your own limits. And I say aim high. My philosophy has always been aim high. Even if you don't get to 100%, let's say you achieve 80% of your whatever you aimed for, that's still higher than if you aimed lower.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Or if you don't try at all, we got to give a.
Well,
you
that's
got
another thing.
Yeah, you got another shout out here from Marika. She says, Andrew. She says, Andrew, I drove with you in your van in Los Angeles. Remember? She says you were great. Listen, she says you were great and you didn't scare anybody. I added that last part.
That's funny. Well, I'm a pretty good driver, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a New Yorker, so I'm aggressive, but I'm not. That's okay. It is what it is. But there's just so many lessons, and I just wanted to. Some of the things, I guess, the reason I came on the show and the reason I want to share my story is, several reasons, but the main reason was when I was in medical school, and I was interested. At one point, I was interested. I was wondering if I should go into rehab, but it just didn't seem like it wasn't challenging enough. I'm crazy. No, actually, the truth is the physical therapists are the ones that end up having the more one-on-one interaction with the patient, and the doctor doesn't really in rehab. So, but I did the rotation, and I noticed that and they're usually young teenage boys, and they're sitting literally out in a hallway, and they're talking, and it's like the blind leading the blind. They're all acute injuries. They don't know what's wrong, what. So, and I started listening in on what they're talking about, and I realized that it's something that we all did when I first got injured. Also, look, we just don't know. I mean, the future is just blank
It's a
slate,
blank slate. Yeah.
Right.
and you just don't know what's going to happen. What can I do physically? What can I do? So um, I approached him and I said, why don't we grab a room and let's just sit down and have like a group chat. I didn't want to say intervention or therapy, because that just got stigma attached all over it.
Right.
And before you know it, and before I did that, that's another thing. Before I intervened, there were a group. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah, you
Can you
okay?
still hear me?
Oh, yeah.
I can hear.
I got disconnected for a second.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what,
Give me
we'll
one second.
we'll stop
Can you hear
there
me?
for just a second. Yeah, we'll stop there for just a second. And I've got to
1 second.
I've got to pay a little bill. We'll be right back right after this brief message.
The 6-minute webinar allows you to create a marketing product in a fraction of the time that it would typically take to create a webinar. And when you follow the simple process, you will provide laser-focused content to your ideal customers. And the nice thing is, it's repeatable for any product or service that you offer. My name's Rich Parsons, founder of Higher Calling Consulting. And creating my own 6-minute webinars has allowed me to have a 24/7 marketing presence for my ideal clients. So I encourage you to make the 6-minute webinar part of your business marketing strategy too.
And
Sorry
we're
about
back,
that.
but that's okay.
These
No,
things, they don't make these things very long. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But in
I
any
hear
case,
you.
I was getting to the point of saying that. So before I started this group, they had what they call a support group, but I've noticed that it was a bunch of almost like guys they weren't really, they were not the right material for a support group. They were very negative. They were very like Debbie Downer, like everything sucks. I'm like, what are you doing to these young? I mean, out of the ballpark, like right out of the gate, they're gonna be. I mean, come. What do you want them to do? Lock themselves up?
Mhm.
So I did two things. First, I approached them and I said, if you're gonna come in here, I mean, I was very protective of them. I don't know why, but I was. Um, I was like, they don't need to hear this. They don't need this. This is the last thing they need. And if you're gonna be like this, then please don't come back.
Mhm.
And they didn't. In fact, I mean, I made sure that it's very positive,
Mhm.
answering anything, and it was I made sure that they understand that that's a safe space. I guess that's
Mhm.
the first thing
Yeah.
you got to do. And I was doing it by instinct. I didn't even realize at the
Yeah.
time that there's a formula, which
And that's what I was going to say there. Donna, hearing this story and the pathway that he took, he was being groomed to follow his natural path and to
Absolutely.
be able to give back and nurture others because basically with his injury, they could all relate to him.
Well,
And
and they can relate in a way that they're really safe.
and
yes,
I was already a student, a medical. I had my white coat and my stethoscope, and it just my scrubs. I looked
Mhm.
all professional, and they loved it. And I'll tell you something else. What I mean, I know this is a family show, so we're gonna keep it clean. But what do you think? Teenage boy's first question is. I mean, every single one of them had the same exact question.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they want
Exactly.
to know if you could pitch a baseball, right?
Exactly. Right. So I went out of my way to like bring whatever attractive girl I was dating at the time. I made sure that I answered all their questions. Part of it, I mean, they were beyond grateful, but part of it was also, I was thinking that, like, I wish I had when I was first injured, because oh my God, I don't want to ruin it, because it's a really couple of funny stories in the book about what I had to go through instead. It's so bad. It's like black humor, but it's
Yeah.
if you enjoy that kind of humor, you'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
And so I loved that, and I loved doing that, and I have a passion for it. Later on, I learned that I'm pretty good at teaching also. So between the combination, I think that that's my natural calling. I think the next I've already conquered. I've gotten to the top of the mountain. It was actually, interestingly, a little bit not depressing, but like kind of like, okay, what now? Once I finished, residency, like, oh, all right. So I was looking for the next challenge and the next interesting. So this, I feel like, would be a great project.
Yeah.
And this is how I give back.
Let me ask you a question. When you were going through your recovery after your injury and all that, when you became inspired to write a book. What's the name of your book, number one? And number two, how did that all come about? Would you share that with us, please?
Of course. It's not published yet, and the working title is the working title I have for the book is Abled, as in the opposite of disabled. And I think it's pretty powerful, because if you're gonna decide, it's basically you. If you decide you're disabled, you're gonna be treated that way. You're gonna be disabled. I have not felt that way, and I'm gonna share something with you, and I'm not sure if I shared it last time, but I'm gonna share it with you now. Most people don't even know this, so this might be an exclusive. In 30 years that I've been injured, I have not had one dream of me being in a wheelchair.
Wow.
I don't know what that means. I mean, again, it could be denial, but I think it's how you perceive yourself.
Yeah, I agree with you, because, Donna, I tell you, some people have a fear of something or dread something, and it just keeps haunting them in dreams. I've known people like that, and I think you've known a couple of people like that too, haven't you?
Well, PTSD alone will do that. If you have post-traumatic stress, of course, that's that goes without saying. I'm just saying that, like, I think I don't associate with it, because I've been able to accomplish so many things.
Sure. And that's really amazing, isn't it, Donna? Because as we were talking, you've got, I know you've known some people like that they let a current situation or something they're facing or whatever it might be, physical or mental, but it enslaves them and it preoccupies their minds and it triggers dreams.
It does. Well, it does. And what the limits and lack of limits that we put on ourselves. I can tell you a perfect story. Long time ago, when I was in 4-H, we were at the camp, and we were rock climbing and rappelling. And there was a 16-year-old boy who was blind. And he went up to rock climb and rappel with us. And I will never forget it, like it was yesterday.
That's amazing.
I said, okay, I have to ask you, obviously you're blind, you can't see. What makes you okay to do this? That's got to be a little scary. And he said, well, he's like touching my face, and he's like, Donna. I'm like, yeah. And I said, I'm curious, David. And he said, well, I am scared because I can't see, but I know that at my age, he was like 15. He said, if I don't do this now, everything else in life will hold me back, because I was too afraid to do this now.
I couldn't agree more. You always should face your fears and conquer them. Well, I think it was a FDR that said. I keep dropping these quotes. There's nothing to fear but fear itself.
Yeah, it was
Maybe it
him.
was Churchill. It
No,
was
it was
FDR.
FDR. It was
FDR.
FDR. It was a
Yeah.
quote that was created by Napoleon Hill, even though
Right.
Napoleon Hill never took credit for it. And
Mhm.
but yeah, if the FDR was the one who physically stated that. Yes, you're correct,
But
sir.
that's actually very good. I mean, that's words to live by.
Oh yeah.
And but every now and then, like my claim to fame is I went skiing 2 years ago. Crazy, crazy. But it was fun. I mean, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, do I really want to kill myself? This is,
Yeah.
but
Well,
and
it was all downhill though, wasn't it?
it was all down. Well, what's funny is that I brought like a little thing of scotch with me because I thought it would be cold. I was like, there is no way
Now,
in hell I gotta be sober for this because
yeah.
and the funny part is that the gentleman that was teaching me how to, because it was a very sophisticated piece of equipment. It looked
Mhm.
like a sled, but it was two separate. Uh, I guess there were skis independently suspended, so like I could
Mhm.
just basically by turning my body a little bit, and I had hand skis.
Mhm.
So the guy said to me, he goes, "Wow, I've never seen anybody pick it up as quickly as you have." Because I only have one concern, which is you need to go a little bit slower. And I'm like, isn't that why you're here?
Yeah. I
Like the
mean, I
first
brought
time
up.
I slammed right into the side of the building. Like it was just,
Yeah.
I mean, it hurt the building probably more than me, but
Yeah. I could just see
it
him
was,
raising his hand, Donna, and saying,
yeah,
Right?
Somebody forgot to give me a parachute."
yeah. Hello,
Absolutely.
how do
Like on
I
a
slow
dragster.
down? Yeah.
Yeah, like on a dragster, you got a parachute you got to open, slow that puppy down.
Yeah,
Right?
so I agree with him in that there's no reason to fear. Like my next thing is scuba. I want to learn how to scuba dive.
Mm.
And down here in Miami, there's a place in Key Largo. Um, and again, these are all things that I feel that the more I do and share,
Mhm.
it's inspiring.
Well, it's exactly that because so many people are handicapped mentally
Yes,
by their beliefs, by their own limitations they put on
they
themselves. I
and
mean,
they
That's the
create
worst
very
kind of handicap.
strict. Yeah.
yeah. I
That's the
mean,
worst kind of handicap.
Donna, one of the things that you do, let me put your website up there, is that you counsel people about breaking down these mental barriers. Would you share that with us a little bit, please?
Absolutely. It doesn't matter where you're at in life. What
Hmm.
I have found with my own personal journey is that there's only three things that get in our way and stop us from living a high energy life and an abundant life. It's a person, a place, or a thing. We
Hmm.
get stuck right there in those three things. And so I help break those down and identify what it is that is your person, place, or thing, and how you can change your paradigms around it. Because if it's another person, as a rule, we're not going to change another person, right? So we have
Hmm.
to change how we perceive what is going on to make us become better, open
Hmm.
up, blossom, and leave all that negative stuff behind us
Hmm. Hmm.
and have an
May
open
And
May
life.
I ask a
let me
question about that?
yeah, go ahead. Mhm.
I
Please.
just have a. I'm just curious. Like, so I guess in summary, what you're saying, if you don't mind, I mean, just repeating what yeah,
Sure.
I thought. I mean, what I was going to ask you is that is it based on? Do you feel like those things you become slave to?
Well, personally, I think it depends on the person, to be honest with you, Andrew. I think it blocks them more than anything. I don't think they become enslaved to anything. I think that they let that situation, whatever it is, that person, that place, that thing, put such a block, it blocks their energy flow. And they can't
Well,
get past that because they can't see it.
the only
Yeah.
reason I'm asking is because of the, like, for example, they say when you start buying all kinds of stuff, before you know it, you're slave to everything you own, because
Oh, yeah.
now you have to like maintain it, keep
Yeah.
paying for it, blah blah. So I'm wondering if that's the same in those situations. Like if you become like dependent on it.
I think, I guess some people could. I've not come across that. I know I had one client who had tried for 12 years trying to free herself of what her particular problem was. And the way I go about it and break it down for them and help them go through this, she's like, you are honestly the only one that has ever put it in front of me and made it make sense.
Wow. That's really amazing. I got to pay a couple little bills here. We're not going to commercial break. I'm just going to say with Donna there, you see her email. Her email is hi, I got to read this thing, hi energy right now at gmail.com. So, if you have any questions, you'd like to get some good advice, be sure and call Donna if you're looking for good advice, okay? Or get in touch
Not from
with her.
you.
And not from me, that's right. And for Dr. Ackerman's email address is right there it's Drew, MD, DREW, MD for medical doctor at gmail.com. Please get in touch with either one of them. They'd be glad to give you some good advice. If you want some bad advice, well, don't waste your time.
just forward it to us.
Yeah. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show too, please just send us an email at the inspiration at e360tv.com.
Or if you know of someone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if they know someone who'd like to be a guest.
I mean, I'm hoping to be back with some good stories as to, because I will I do intend to start doing talks.
Oh yeah, because
in front of different audiences, and I think that I could bring even from the hospital. I mean, as far as like acute hospital to young high school students. Because they're actually the highest risk factor.
Yeah.
Of course, with this COVID nonsense, it's a little bit difficult, but we're getting there.
Yeah, because in your journey, I mean, you would be a tremendous inspiration for people to keep on keeping on, and at least try. Because I mean, my goodness, if you went through, you graduated from, you're a doctor, you went to medical school, and
15 years.
all the 15 years, my goodness gracious.
Wow.
My God, that is a huge accomplishment. If you folks sitting there on the couch and you're too lazy to get off the couch to get it up and get it in gear, shame on you.
Yeah. I mean, really? I got to tell you, what's the alternative? To just lock yourself up in the house and wait for a cure? I mean, you still have to live your life.
Yeah.
And when and I feel like, especially if you have a chance to give back, which some people don't have that in them, but I think it's something that's just natural in me.
I think all of us have a little bit of capacity to give back.
Absolutely.
If they just
right.
do it.
Unless you're a complete narcissistic sociopath, but that's a whole.
Well, how do you really feel about them people?
and we don't interview them, to be honest with you.
No, I mean, listen, it's a disease, and I feel bad for. I mean, it is what it is. It's a personality disorder, but at the same time, they cause a lot of harm.
Oh yeah, the lights are on and they're not home. And Donna, it's really it's amazing how when people, they want something in life, but they're too lazy to get it in gear. What they do, they make them a slave. They enslave themselves to want and need. And that's where greed sets in, and jealousy and all the negative things in life that we don't want. Whereas if you just say, I'm going to focus on how I can bless others with my gifts and talents, and you come from the heart, that just opens up a lot of doors for you, and it makes your pathway more paved than it does having a rocky pathway with potholes in it.
It does.
I have a question for you, Jim. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go on.
I was just going to say. Go
It's
ahead,
hard.
Andrew.
I'm having a delay. That's why it's.
Oh,
but
okay.
My question was really quick. Am I wrong? You're a preacher of some sort, or
No, nothing like that.
of something? Okay. I don't know why I was going to ask you a question though, but I mean you
Go ahead.
seem to be well in tune with spirituality and religion.
Sure.
There. For example, the Bible says God helps those who help themselves.
That's
Right.
true.
Well, what does that mean? And then on the other hand, there's the converse. I think there's another. I forget which one it is, but it says something like, yeah, I mean, yes, obviously you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I understand what that means, but at the same time, what's his role in it? You know what I mean? Like if you're the one doing the work.
Okay, very simple. Where did you get your capacity to love others? Where did you get your gifts and your talents from? You didn't get that from a frog, And when
You're right.
one thing I've learned in life is that whenever you give and you continue to give with the right kind of heart, you cannot outgive the master giver. And I've seen that time and time again. And the thing that really impresses me about people, the people who give, they're the happiest people on planet Earth. And that's one thing. You don't see any stores that say, hey, come in here. We sell happiness. $5, you'll have $5 of happiness. $10, $20, you're going to be giggling going out the door. It's something that you must earn. And as far as, helping those who help themselves, that means we're supposed to be given a hand up to people, not a handout. And
That's right.
when you have, when you have talents and gifts and you're lazy, you just bankrupt yourself big time. I mean, it's just kind of like, a guy having a gold mine in his backyard, but he's too lazy to go out there and start to pick and shovel and get to work.
Well, that's his problem. But you're right. I mean, more importantly, if you've been given all these natural talents and you don't use them, it's just a waste.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I think.
Go ahead, please.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I think that it doesn't even have to be to start. If you're not sure, it doesn't have to be anything big. It can be just, taking out the garbage for your neighbor or checking in on them or
help someone across the street.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
having a conversation. One of my favorite things to do is have a conversation with some of the elderly people when I go to the grocery store. Because you can just, you can just kind of, you can see that they just want connection. Right?
And they also have a lot of experience and wisdom. I mean, life wisdom. You can learn from them.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. It's a give, win-win.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm asked from time to time, because I'm going to be 73 in August, they want to know when I'm going to retire. And I said, well, the day before I die. This is my standard answer. I'm not making this up. I said, well, the day before I die, if I get a chance, I'll call you. Yeah. Yeah. And I said, if I get a chance, I'll call you. If not, I'll see you on the other side of the Jordan,
That is true. Hey, I live not far from there.
Because I saw something in the military. It used to really rub me the wrong way. Back in the 70s, they got on this kick about, weight. Soldiers being overweight, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the problem of it was I saw people get kicked out of the military because of a physical issue, being a little overweight. They did not evaluate the capacity of what that person could contribute, all those years of experience, all those years of training. And we see the same thing in life when who was it that says, at age 65, well, you should be retired to your backyard. Your daily thing should be growing tomatoes.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but they're talking about changing the retirement age to 75. Because now we are living longer. The average age this is just from a scientific point of view.
I understand.
Imagine if you live till 90, that's 25 years of having to support yourself.
Yeah. And also
It's
too,
25
the
years
reason
of
why they
tomatoes.
want to move that to 75, it means they don't have to start paying you back from funds that they've already spent.
Oh, are you kidding me? I'm paying
Yeah.
into a system I'm never going to be able to get anything
Oh,
from.
I know.
It's
I
unless they,
know.
but that's a whole other story.
But see, when you give back, there's other things that come your way and doors open to you. And like you being
It's
a
karma.
speaker and things of this nature, yeah, it's going to open up doors and you're not enslaved to somebody that's, I call it enslaved to Uncle Sam's
It just,
plantation.
it just
I'm
feels
sorry
good.
if that rubs someone the wrong way. I'm an old Vietnam vet,
I know what you
and
mean. I know
and
what you mean.
and I learned a long time ago, Uncle Sam is really not your uncle.
He's not. No, he's like that. He's like that drunk uncle that will fondle you after a couple of drinks.
Yeah, I tell you, it just amazes me how people buy into that mindset. Well, I'm 65, I'm old, or I'm 70 and I'm old.
Well, I
You
will
know,
tell you this. Some people want to also not wait too long until they do the things that they want to do, like travel.
right,
So
right,
I could see that you don't, some people retire a little bit
sure.
earlier, but there's a new trend of people retiring and then going back for a second career,
Yeah.
which is
Mhm.
interesting because they're just bored.
But see,
And
the
now you
beauty
can
in
do so
that,
many things from home.
yeah. So the beauty in that is choice.
Right.
That's the
Right.
beauty. That's having the freedom of
And
choice.
drive.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, if
Yeah.
you want to play golf every day, that's your prerogative. You've earned it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And you got another message from Marika. She says, "Giving is the greatest feeling." She is so correct on that. Is Marika? Did I pronounce her first name
Yeah,
correctly?
Mark. Yep. She's my mom. She's family basically, but
Oh, okay.
she's good people.
Oh yeah.
California, California. But I don't know how. I guess there's definitely a lot more. I want to come back with some stories of some experience coming back from the road of
Hmm.
what Charlene and I are planning on giving these talks, and
Hmm.
you'll find that interesting. I hope you'll have me on the show again.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Yeah, because
Your
we're
mom
always
just
looking for.
sent a message.
Oh yeah.
Andrew, your mom just sent a message. She said,
Oh
"This
my
show is such
God.
an inspiration, especially with my son."
Oh God. They
Oh
need
right.
my mom.
Yeah.
You gotta love her.
Yeah.
Oh, be blessed. I miss mine every day.
Well,
I don't know.
yeah.
I'm very
Absolutely.
lucky. There's no question. I'm very lucky.
Moms
One
are,
time.
That's another, and that we can close on that if you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
A
We're going to
support
need
system.
to.
There is
Mhm.
nothing more important than a support system.
Oh yes.
I would not have been here today without a support system.
Yeah.
You need at
And
least
that's
one person to believe in you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's so true, Andrew, because we tell people every day. A lot of people just went into solitary confinement during the pandemic last year when it
Oh,
first
yeah.
hit. They were fear and all that, and we've told people consistently on the TV show and also on our radio show, find people who are like-minded, have the same type of heart as you, like Donna mentioned earlier in the show, and those people, they will help you get from where you are because it's all about helping each other and sharing your blessings in life. That's the key to unlock the doors that you think is locked. And
I
when it
think
comes,
you've
and
said it all.
I gotta say something about mothers too, since your mom is here with us today, and
And
I had to give a
Mother's Day is coming up in a couple of months, right?
yeah,
My
Yes,
and
it
mom's name
is.
is it's
I had
Leah. Hi, Leah.
Leah,
Yeah.
yeah, Leah Ackerman,
Mhm.
and I had to give the opening statement during Mother's Day one time. And I got up there and I thought, well, I got a warped sense of humor or a lack of sense. And I just simply said, it's Mother's Day. And I said, Happy Mother's Day. And it's really amazing how all the great people in history had one common denominator. And the most common denominator that was they had a great mother because mothers build characters. And if
Oh,
you don't believe me, just look around this room. Look at all these characters I see in here.
can I say one thing before we finish? The
Please
best
do.
thing, I have advice for people if they want to win a lot of points with their moms. On your birthday, send your mom flowers
Mm,
on your birthday, because at the end of the day, what did you do? You just didn't die.
yeah.
They did the hard work.
Oh, yeah.
Amen.
And I tell you, 6 months of goodwill, you got yourself a lot of points. You could do a lot of bad things after that.
Yeah. Mhm. Well, ladies and
But
gentlemen, our time is up. We're a little over the hour mark. And Donna, I want to thank you for being with us today. Dr. Andrew Ackerman, thank you so very much for sharing your great, inspiring story. Because
my
if he
pleasure.
can do the things he's done, and
So can
if
you.
you're absolutely. If you're sitting there on the couch, shame on you. Get it up, get it in
Dude,
gear, and
get
at
off
least
your
try.
butt. You only have
There
one
you
shot
go.
at this. Let's go.
You bet. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it, and we're so grateful that so many people like this show. And most importantly, please remember to love yourself first, then you can love others, and go out and focus on being a blessing to others. I'm Jim Grant on behalf of Donna Guinois and our great host, Dr. Andrew Ackerman. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening. Everybody wave bye.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great evening.
Bye-bye.
Take care.